Episode 5 begins where Episode 4's explosive cliffhanger ended. The TVA isn't immediately destroyed, however. Loki wanders the empty halls in silence with everyone around him mysteriously gone. It's an impactful reintroduction, selling Loki's isolation with each echoing footstep. Loki leaves the TVA for the Void, a never-ending time loop throughout the past timeline he's been alive on to this point. He visits the timelines of his old friends and their past lives before the TVA as well. Mobius is revealed to be Don, a single father and jet ski salesman in Cleveland, Ohio back in 2022. Loki bounces around the timelines of old friends like Hunter Bu-15, now a doctor, as well as Obi. In Obi's original timeline, he's a struggling science fiction writer named A.D. Doug, and also a scientist teaching theoretical physics at Caltech. A.D. helps Loki turn his time-slipping dilemma into an asset, focusing on the who rather than the how and what. As they draw closer towards a solution, Loki slips again in time, reappearing at Mobius' home, or Don's home. A.D. emerges with a newly built temp pad, and one by one, each of the remaining friends of Loki are recruited. The god of mischief, left rudderless after a heart-to-heart with Sylvie, briefly gives up on saving the TVA. Sylvie believes most friends from the Loom implosion are living free lives now. Loki lets Sylvie walk free after their heart-to-heart scene. Loki and Sylvie's bar scene is underrated and a real character moment akin to She-Hulk's bar scene between Matt Murdock and Jennifer Walters. They debate what makes each of them unique, and it gets you wondering into what Loki's inner desire is after everything that's happened. Sylvie just wants others to live a carefree life away from the TVA, while Loki uses the TVA to inspire his old friends to leave their lives for what he calls a brief moment. Sylvie returns to her carefree world in Broxton, Oklahoma, until the world around her slowly engulfs within spaghetti threads. She uses her temp pad to reunite with Loki and company. They theorize that now that everybody is together, they could all slip Loki back into the future. As Loki is vindicated in his quest to bring everybody back to the TVA. AD's workshop, however, receives the same spaghetti treatment that Sylvie's universe got. But Loki is finally able to manifest his ability to control time slipping, reviving his friends and explaining this breakthrough. He claims now that he can rewrite the story and slips back between time and space to return to the moment to the TVA before the Loom was destroyed, giving himself a second chance. Science fiction is one of the strongest episodes of the second season of Loki, a character-driven departure, showing the show's recent frenetic pacing, giving it a chance to reset ahead of the finale. Episode 5 is a fun Doctor Who-esque episode, leaping from timeline to timeline, and leading to the conclusion where Loki masters time-slipping, and teleports himself to before the collapse of the temporal loom. This is all a big character moment for Loki. Episode 6 begins as Loki tells the team Timely needs to get back out of the suit and back up. Timely, however, still dies, and Loki asks OB what they could have done differently. Loki slips back, trying to make the scene faster, and centuries pass by. Timely dies repeatedly, and Loki goes back to learn everything necessary to instruct Timely. The loom overloads with too many branches, and Sylvie suggests that branch timelines set the chaos into motion. When Loki gets the idea that he might have a solution to the temporal loom, it explodes again. Loki goes back to the season 1 finale, trying to stop Sylvie from stabbing He Who Remains, thinking that this might prevent everything from happening. He realizes that this is all part of He Who Remains' plan back in season 1 of Loki. Loki refuses to believe that he was manipulated into finding out that this whole temporal loom situation was a failsafe to actually preserve the real sacred timeline within the MCU. He time slips into the first ever episode of the show, and he asks Mobius why the TVA does what they do. He desires to understand what it really takes to save all of reality, not understanding and relating to where He Who Remains was coming from. Mobius tells a story about Renslayer pruning a variant boy to save 5,000 lives in the sacred timeline. Loki was sobbing and realizes that there must be a sacrifice to everything, and then he fades out of existence. Loki pulls himself back into episode 5 of season 2 and Sylvie from Out of Time as they argue that sometimes you need to destroy something in order to replace it with something better. Loki time slips back into right before Timely's walk and locks Sylvie and Mobius' door behind the vault. He tells them he knows what kind of god he needs to be and embarks on the walk by himself with no spacesuit. As he goes on the walk, his clothes transform into a new version of his Loki costume. He uses his power to zap the loom and realizes that he can physically grab and reignite each of the dying branches. He creates a crack in the space-time continuum, which he walks towards and through. Sylvie says that Loki is giving them all a chance. Loki walks towards a throne, holding branches together and healing them as he walks closer. And he sits on the place where he who remains once sat. We pan out, and the branches that he's created have become and formed into a world tree. At some point after, the TVA returns to normal, viewing the timelines as the world tree that Loki created. Miss Minutes is back to normal, for now I guess. Mobius reveals that they've been keeping tabs on the He Who Remain variants, including one seemingly to be the Kang from Quantumania. He wishes to step down from the TVA to watch over his happy life. A young Victor Timely does not get the book, setting him down a different pathway than the TVA did originally. Ravonna wakes up in the void and finds remnants of the TVA floor, and sees Alioth in action. Mobius watches the life of Dawn, the jet skiing selling dad of two boys. Sylvie is by his side, and they talk about the future. Loki sits on the throne at the center of the world tree, proud, and his eyes beaming with glorious purpose. Hey movie lovers, welcome to Real Talk Movies, your next destination for all things cinema. If you're a big film fanatic like me, smash that like button and hit subscribe. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on future discussions, in-depth reviews, and analysis on all things related to film. Now, back to the video. I consider this a strong finale, and honestly the best back-to-back episodes of this show, and maybe even in all of Disney Plus shows that we've gotten to this point for Marvel Studios. We understand the why, and now mainly the who of the main plot. Tom Hiddleston brought his A-game this season, shining in the finale as well. The new suit combines elements of both Kid Loki and his original horned helmet from the original Thor films that we saw in the early 2010s. Owen Wilson and Sophie DiMartino were great additions to the cast, although the latter had a less important role this season. Sylvie's poor reality died off, and she's left with nowhere to go, really. The show kind of gave her a sad ending, to be honest. I hope she returns in Kang Dynasty or a cameo in a future MCU project, to be honest. The show's early pace was a worry, and the plot points surrounding the MCU's multiverse are still a little bit fuzzy for most fans to get. And according to My Time to Shine Hello, the events of Deadpool 3 take place after the Loki Season 2 finale. The TVA got word that the Kangs are gathering for a new multiversal war, and now the TVA are attempting to create an army of multiversal heroes, mostly from dying worlds, to fight the Council of Kangs. Mr. Paradox is going to be replacing Mobius in that film. Mobius, we could all be expected, is taking a break from the TVA and looking over his old life. I still think that there might be a cameo left off in the future, according to My Time to Shine Hello. He'll be back in the Avengers films most likely, and will be trying to recruit Wolverine. Mr. Paradox will be recruiting all of these heroes, and especially Wolverine. Deadpool will be a prisoner of the TVA after messing with time, and hears about this plan and attempts to escape. His plan is to get Wolverine to come with him instead so they can become best friends. It's going to be wild to see how this finale ties with future MCU events. Some MCU projects in Phase 5 and 6 are further delayed, and I think that this is smart. Deadpool 3 will connect with the TVA and possibly more. But Loki is where the origins of the multiversal war and ideas and timeline principles were born, at least for Marvel Studios. Hiddleston literally carried the season, making it a great overall show. Most MCU fans not watching are missing out, to be honest. It's a great binge, but I understand if the show's early pace could be a concern and too slow for others. I give Season 2 of Loki a B+. Not the strongest Marvel Studios project post-Endgame, but a good watch with vital explanations for future MCU projects. So share your own thoughts on the finale of Season 2 of Loki down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching today's video, and I hope that you enjoyed today's topic. If you could hit that sub button, that would be awesome. Hit that like button and boost my video up on the algorithm. Click that bell so you don't miss any of my videos that get uploaded. And if you have some time to spare, check out some of these videos on your screen right now.